Russian Sparky here. So in today's video, we're going to test and compare leading brands in electrician's hand tools, generally in hand tools. German Knipex, this is how it's pronounced, not Knipex, not anything other than Knipex. We're going to compare those to Channellock and to Klein tools. Klein tools, of course, that's the mainstay amongst the electricians. Channellock is popular amongst tradespeople. Electricians use Channellock pliers and side cutters too. And Knipex is just as popular in Europe, in the world, pretty much outside of the United States. So why side cutters? Well, side cutter is probably the simplest jointed tool. So it's a good basis for comparison for metal quality of cutting surfaces. That's what we're going to do. Why these brands? And well, again, I said they're leaders, and there's probably a good reason. For all three, for Knipex, Channellock, or Klein, they stayed in their mainstay in their tools since the 19th century. Milwaukee, it's a later arrival. It's a later arrival to the scene. Obviously they haven't been around that long, at least not with their hand tools. These guys came from families of blacksmiths, and these families ran these brands, ran these manufacturing, these forges since, again, 19th century, controlling, I guess, the quality and reputation of their product. Maybe that's why they're so successful. Maybe that's why they're so high quality, and that's why they're made still in their native countries. Knipex is still made in Germany. Channellock and Klein, at least the hand tools, are still made in the US of A. All right, so let's begin. Let's quickly talk about how these brands designate their models. Knipex 74 is usually the unique tool model, so these particular side cutters are 74s. 01, that's the type of the handle. It could be 01, 02, I don't know, 05, 11, depending on whether it's dielectric, slip-free, dipped handles, comfort handles, and so on. And 200 is the length, 200 millimeters or 8 inches. Channel locks, they're usually 3 digits. These are the 338, made in US of A, of course. Klein. Now, why do I have two different side cutters here that look pretty much the same except for the color of the handles? Well, here's why. If you guys know, shout out the answer. But if you don't, the 3-digit model is usually for the softer metal, such as aluminum, copper, soft steel. D before that means dipped. It could also say J as in journeyman. Those are these comfort soft handles. So that's the 3-digit, right? D228. For Lyman's, it's D213. But again, it's a 3-digit model. Now, the 2000 series are the heavy duty, as this says here. They're for ACSR, aluminum conductor reinforced steel. That the basically the triplex cable, for instance, right? Cutting steel, cutting hard, basically cutting harder metal, right? And they're more expensive. Retail at the time, these were retailing for 35, 25, 30, and 25. These I'm just throwing into the mix because I kind of like them. They're made in China. They're not really American tool except for the name, but some guys like them, so I figured I'd give them a try. Their model, that's their format. I really don't know what any of this stands for, but I do know about these. Okay, so let the battle begin. As you guys can see, these are brand new tools right out of the factory packaging. You saw that earlier. I haven't cut anything, anything with them yet. So brand new, never used. Now let's look at the gap. And right off the bat, I'm not happy with the German. Look at that gap. It only closes when I squeeze the handles. So there's no gap at the tip. This is authentic tool. I mean, it's right from Germany. It's bought from an authorized retailer. There's no way this is a knockoff yet. I mean, look at this. No such thing with a Klein or Channellock. Just twisting it so you can see the other Klein. Milwaukee, okay, well, you know, you get a gap there, you squeeze the handles, it disappears. So, not sure what that means, but you know, I couldn't do quite that with Knipex. You still get a bit of a, yeah, you see? Still get a bit of that. So, all right, we'll see what that does to its cutting ability. All right, let's cut some rope. Knipex. If it falls, it's been cut fully through. Doesn't fall. Attempt number 2. Doesn't fall. You might argue that I got a defective specimen, but like their top claim to quality is that they check every pair by hand before it leaves the factory. Well, I don't know, they forgot to check my pair, or you know, rope cutting was not a part of the check, but you know, this is not like what I would expect out of a German tool, at least the premium German tool that they claim to be. All right, Channellock. Okay, fell on its own. Fell on its own. So, all right, Channellock pass. Red 2 2/8. All right. It struggled a little bit, like, you know, falling away, but it did in the end. No issues there. Blue Kleins. Yep, on its own. Oh, all right. Well, it hicked up. All right. You might ask, what does this all mean? Okay, it doesn't cut all the way through. The initial quality of the tool, how well the cutting surfaces come together. That's what it really means. That's what it boils down to in the end. Because if they're perfectly machined together, then that's the evidence of the fact that it's a well-made tool. All right, guys, let's cut us some steel. These are American-made steel bolts. These are number 8s, if I'm not mistaken. Could be number 10s. Anyway, same bolt for each one of the side cutters, starting with Knipex. I want to give each side cutter the maximum chance, so I'm cutting close to as close as I can, as practically can, to the joint, to the pivot. Yeah, a little effort there, but it did cut. Channellock. Man, lot less effort. A lot less effort with Channellocks. Go Channellocks. All right. Klein. This is the 2 2/8. Sorry, guys. I know you're made for soft metal. I'm making you cut hard steel, or what's considered hard steel. It is what it is, guys. In real life, you don't get to choose sometimes. The hard Klein. No serious issues. Milwaukee. Again, I realize these are probably made, except for where it's expressly stated on these, to cut copper, aluminum, softer metals. You know what? In real life, we drive nails with these. We don't read the instructions in real life, at least not for what we use these for. So this is a real life test. You know, we are in real life. Milwaukee. And it doesn't cut to save my or anyone else's life. I cannot make these cut for, all right, I'm not going to use the word for anything. Holy crap, I cannot. It won't cut. I don't know why. These look sharp enough. Handles are long enough. I'm holding them close to the, I cannot make the cut. Like, what is going on? Okay. Holy cow. Yeah. All right. There's that. And we were doing size comparisons here. You know, this is the 8-inch. These are 9.5-inch. side cutters. This is the J2059s, also by Klein. You know, you'd think that have a pretty serious cutting power, and you know they do, but they're not as strong as you think they'd be. You know, when I try comparing cutting these same bolts using these. All right, let me get a clean area. And yeah, it's easier, but you know, not that much easier. So it probably has to do with how far apart these come when you, and the fact that the handles are thicker. So I can get a much better grip on these, for instance. Let me make sure I get a clean cut here. Yeah, it's like butter, like click, and no issue. Even easier than these. So the size doesn't always matter, guys. Keep that in mind. All right, guys, let's cut us some screws. These are 2-inch spacks. You know, definitely a... Guys, at this point, I'm just going to save you some time and tell you what other tests I've run. I've been cutting screws over and over and over. Thicker, thinner, bolts. Again, thicker ones too. Over and over, dozens and dozens of cuts. Then the metal cable, the security cable. And again, over and over, the pattern was as follows. So the Knipex and the 2 Kleins were pretty much on par when it comes to the amount of effort it takes to cut through the material. Knipex became harder toward the end. In a minute, you'll realize why. At the moment, at the time, I was not quite getting it, but when I looked at it closely, I realized why it was getting harder and harder to cut with Knipex. Channellock was the easiest, taking the least amount of effort to cut through the material. And Milwaukee, time after time, just could not handle it, could not cut through, which I'm not sure if I mentioned it or not. When I looked at the rivet at the joint, it is farther away from the mouth, from the cutting edges, so there is less leverage on with Milwaukee. That's why I was having a much harder time using it. So that's that. Again, to save you time, I'm fast forwarding. I'm going to fast forward through a test I was going to show you, and I'll jump right to the conclusion. All right, guys, let's look at the damage done to the cutting surfaces. Let's start with the Knipex. Whoa, that's chewed up, I would say. This gap was not there when we started. Let's look at Channellock. It's a bit of a hole there, a tiny bit like needle prick. Not too bad, I mean, considering the abuse we put them through. Klein, nothing. These are the 228s. The 2000s, that hole you see, that's outside of the cutting surfaces. That's by the joint. Cutting surfaces are intact. Milwaukee. Yeah, well, that's from all the abuse. That was kind of expected, but maybe I got a bad Knipex specimen, but I don't know. They kind of let me down. They kind of disappointed me for being the premium brand. They encountered I would say, the most damage of all these. So that's it for now. Give me likes or dislikes, depending on what I earned. If you're giving me a dislike, tell me why. I'd like to know. Other than that, guys, be well. Take care of yourselves. Stay healthy. Take care.